We launched with UT Dallas. Everybody loved the idea, and people didn't like the UX UI. They didn't like the usability of it. They didn't like the fact that there was just so few features. And so, but we knew all that going into it. We just wanted the buttons to get tested. We wanted to just get some feedback. After launch happened is when we had the issue with the app developer that we were using. We had to basically start the app completely over.
We're here today to talk about your company, Rally. So first, introduce yourself and what is Rally?
So my name is Mike Murphy. I'm the founder of Rally, among other companies. Rally is a personal safety mobile networking app and wearable Bluetooth button that helps keep people safe from all different forms of violence. Specifically, we're focused on sexual assault, rape, stalking. So the button itself was something that we really thought that we needed to pair with the app, almost similar to somebody trying to get out mace or pepper spray in that moment of fear, life or death. If you have to take your phone out of your bag, out of your pocket, even if you have it in your hand, you have to unlock it, so hold it up to your face, enter your code, whatever you got to do. Then you have to find the app. Then you have to pull it up and then maybe ask for help through the app. It's a long process if you're thinking of it in the context of life or death. Right. That could be an eternity, and it could be too long.
Seconds matter.
Yeah. And so what we really want to develop this Bluetooth button to give somebody all the life-saving features that we built into the app at their fingertips at all times. Okay. It can attach on the back of somebody's phone, and if you have it on the back of your phone, it acts like one of the grip accessories.
Kind of like a stand.
It can be a stand. It's a grip on the back, so you can stand it up and watch something. Okay. You can hold it, help take photos, whatever you want to do. So it doubles as that. So you don't lose the everyday features that one of those things you have on the back of your phone gives you. All you're doing is gaining all the amazing features that our safety app. You don't want something on the back of your phone. It can be clipped onto clothes, bags, accessories, wherever you're comfortable
modular
with it. Oh yeah. Okay. And we're adapting to our user's life, not the other way around. We wanted to make sure that they were comfortable with it, on them, close to them. And so getting into the app now, the way it really works is, so we have all sorts of features, and we're going to continuously build features in that are going to help people. But the main pillars to what we do is what we call safety circles. So our users have the ability to customize these safety circles. You know, people in your contact list, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, anybody that you are comfortable getting a GPS alert sent to them in your moment of need. The second pillar is our emergency monitoring service. So we have 24/7, 365 emergency monitors standing by, ready to help you. And what's great about them is if you activate it, if you have them as one of your, what we call allies, they're gonna call you, they're gonna text you before they ever get police involved. And so it can be, you can contact them from any situation ranging from, I just feel uncomfortable and I want somebody on the phone with me, or I want to text with somebody while I'm walking to my car, all the way up to that moment where my life might be in danger. I need somebody to get me help immediately, contact the police. And so you can talk to them at any level. And then the third level being what we call the Rally community. So the Rally community is really the way that we can get people help in a matter of seconds and actually prevent the crime from going too far. You think about friends and family, they might not be in the same area, they might not be close enough to help. You think about police, police can't be everywhere at once. And there's response times, and a lot of times those response times are after the crime takes place. The way that I thought of that can actually prevent a crime from happening in real time is to call on the community around you, whether you know them or not, that can respond in seconds and actually stop a crime. So when you think about it in the context of college campuses who are trying to help, there's always people awake, there's always people around you. You just don't know how to communicate with them because you don't know them. We're a communication tool that lets you reach out to those people to get you help in seconds to actually stop a crime that's happening. And so, our third option, the community option, and again, it's customizable. You can have whichever option you're comfortable with. You can have all three. You can choose whichever ones you want. But we really wanted to just create this holistic approach to safety and give our users the ability to reach out to all these different people.
And on your website, you kind of tell the story of how it got started. So
yeah, I guess you have to kind of go back to the
hold
beginning.
on. There's an Amy hair.
I'm going to have a lot of those. So yeah, to kind of get into how Rally started, I guess I got to go back. And so my original career out of the military was in executive protection. So keeping celebrities, VIPs, high net worth individuals and families safe, and traveling with them all over the world, going to different high profile events, things like that. So I was working and living in Los Angeles, and I was at a client's house. It was 8-9 p.m. We're getting ready to go out for the night, and my mom called me. She was at work in Northern California, and she was about to leave, and basically her idea of staying safe was to call her son, who's in the security world, as she walked from her office to the car. We're on the phone, we're talking, she goes through the parking lot, she gets in the car, gets home, no problem. Then I started thinking, that's pretty stupid. Like, there's not much I can do from where I am if something happens to her. I just have to sit there on the phone and listen to it and, maybe call the police and tell them generally where she is. But at that point, it's going to be too late. And that's really where the idea for Rally started. It was wildly different than what it is now, but that's at least where it kind of got started.
What year was that?
2017.
2017. How concerned were you for your mom at that point? It was just like, chances are she'll be fine, but it's still kind of concerning.
Yeah, playing the odds. Like, she wasn't in like the worst neighborhood or anything like that, but I was concerned, and really it was more of, in that moment, the odds are she's going to be okay. But when you replay that moment over and over and over and over again, every time she goes to work, every time she leaves work, you're increasing the likelihood that something happens. And then also you think of it, there's millions of other moms that go through similar situations. And so if you can think of something that can help them, really that's kind of where I landed on it.
So when did you decide that you wanted to join the military?
I don't know if it sounds like hokey or corny or whatever, but it was on 9/11. That's what did it for me, and I can remember the exact moment. And
what class were you in?
I wasn't in class.
You weren't in class?
Yeah,
okay.
Because so being in California, I was 3 hours behind.
That's right.
And so
I was in my history class when that happened.
And so this is before. So I grew up obsessed with the Dodgers. So at the time, you couldn't, you didn't have like the streaming games or anything like that. So unless it was like the ESPN or the Fox game of the week, you had to wake up in the morning and go downstairs for me, turn on the TV and watch ESPN and try and catch the replay of it. At the same time, I'd be in competition with my sister because she wanted to watch the Weather Channel to see what the weather is going to be like, so she knew what to wear to school that day. And every channel is showing the same thing, whether it be MTV, ESPN, the news channels, they're all showing the first tower was struck. If every single station is showing the same thing, maybe we should stop and watch it for a second. And it's pretty much in that moment when the second plane hit the second tower. And that's when I have no idea who the reporter was. I can kind of picture him vaguely in my head. And he made a comment, something like, okay, this is an act of terror. This was intentional. I run upstairs, knock on my parents' door. One of them calls me in, either my stepmom or my dad. I walk in and I just remember seeing my stepmom sitting on the bed with tears in her eyes, basically. And it's like, all right, this is messed up, this is serious. And so that was pretty much the beginning of it for me, at least.
How did you decide of what branch of military you wanted to join?
Yeah, so at this point, I was in middle school when it happened, so I had a long time to think about it. I knew eventually, I don't know exactly when, but I knew that I wanted to do some kind of special operations. I wanted to actually be a part of the action and do something. So basically I narrowed it down to trying out for Army Rangers or Navy SEALs. The Navy recruiter told me that there's no guarantee that you can try out, and the Army recruiter said that he can guarantee me a tryout at least if I could pass the physical, the PT test. And so that's basically what solved it for me, as I just wanted a chance. So Army it was.
And now, as a 18-year-old, how did you deal with discipline? How did you deal with people telling you what to do?
How do you think I dealt with it?
I don't think you dealt with it very well.
Even when you know me now, right? I was disciplined. I was always disciplined, and I always did what I was told to do as long as I thought it was a good idea. But I mean, I was sarcastic, and I got into trouble. If you're going to be sarcastic, if you're going to be combative a little bit, you have to also have pretty good ability to overcome it. And I think I had probably just enough ability to overcome my sarcasm.
Just to get you by. Was it culture shock once you went into the Army? So I assume you did basic training with the Army, and then somehow...
Yes, I did basic training, then went straight to airborne school.
Okay.
And then straight to, at the time was called RIP, the Ranger Indoctrination Program.
Okay.
And you know, I didn't grow up shooting, I didn't grow up hunting, I didn't really do any of that stuff. I didn't even grow up fighting really, like, you know, that wasn't really a part of my life. And so it should have been a culture shock, but for some reason it really wasn't.
Did the military do a good job of training you to deal with the emotional aspect of like panic and fear? I
don't think the military really does. I think it's just the people that are around us, especially at that time, all had a ton of combat experience. They're all, you know, they've all deployed 4, 5, 6 more times. And so just being around them and seeing how they operate and work, that certainly helped. But the military as a whole, I would probably say no. But if you're in that kind of situation like I was, it definitely is helpful.
It just seems like it's a matter of experience that really trains you the best in dealing with.
Yeah, I think in almost anything you go through, experience is the best way to learn.
So how much longer until you get deployed to Afghanistan?
For me, after graduating the selection phase, the RIP phase, I deployed, I think, 7 months after that.
Okay. And you did 4 tours, is that right?
I did,
okay.
Yeah.
So we can talk about all the war stories that, you know, people might want to hear, but what were some of the positive experiences you were able to encounter over there that you felt like made a difference?
I love Afghanistan. I love the people, the culture, knowing that, like, women were going to school, right? Women were becoming doctors and you know, judges and professors and stuff like that. That really had a profound impact on me, and I think that's probably something that I take the most pride in, knowing that we had at least a small role in helping. But really, just it can be, you know, a small village that had the Taliban take it over and basically control it under their, you know, extreme kind of law, and going in and kind of freeing them from that. It's, you know, so even little kind of smaller things like that mean a lot to me. And then, you know, obviously the people that you meet and the people you work with, you know, is another really great thing to take away.
Absolutely. And kind of going on that tangent of how to deal with panic and fear, I mean, is it safe to say that you relied on your friends to kind of help corral you in those moments of intense situations?
I mean, I certainly didn't. The people that I worked with did not.
Sure.
You don't think of what could happen. One, because you just don't have the time. You just have too much going on. And two, because you trust the people you're with. We had the ability in our unit to weed out the people that we didn't think should be there, and we would do it pretty frequently. And
it wasn't because of like bullying, it was just out of necessity, right?
Well, it had nothing to do with bullying, yeah. Especially by the time I was there, you know, in previous years or generations, that happened more often. Even when it was happening, it wasn't really bullying, it was just pushing people.
Bullying was probably the wrong word.
It was just pushing people to see if they would break. And there's different ways you can do it. You can do it by making people do push-ups, you can do it by yelling at them. But you have to put people through stress to at least have an idea how they're going to react in a combat situation. You can't simulate combat until you're in combat. And so, you have to try and push them as much as you can before getting there, and then hope that once they get there, all of that has kind of built them up. It doesn't always work that way. You never really know how somebody's going to respond, until they actually see it for the first time, and then you just do the best you can, and figure it out after.
What was the saying? Pressure makes pearls. I think he told me that on the golf course when I needed to hit a good shot.
Did you hit a good shot?
Probably not.
Oh, well.
Anyways, I still ended up beating you, but we're not going to talk about that. What did your time in the military teach you?
I think, if anything, it taught me that if it's not going to kill you, then you can get it done.
It only make you stronger?
No, I'm like, really, if you just power through it, and you're going to get to where you want to go. And it can be painful, physically, mentally. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. Like, it's hard. Life is hard. But power through it, and it makes it a whole lot easier if you have good people around you, whether it be military or starting a business or in a golf scramble. Having good people around you is kind of a key factor.
It's key. It's very important. I think that's a good pause. Sal, can we get another beer? When did your service end?
It ended 11/11/11, so a date that I can't really forget. So November 11th of 2011. It was the day that I signed the contract when I was 17, was the day they gave me, and so that was,
Wow.
kind of weird.
That is interesting. So while you're in the military, did you kind of have a plan of what you're going to do afterwards?
Oh yeah, there's always a plan. I always had a plan. So I knew going into it that I was going to do my first tour or contract, whatever, and then I was going to get out and go to college, get my degree, try and get back into one of the other kind of 3-letter agencies, FBI, CIA, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't work out that way, but that was the plan going into it. But I had an opportunity to join a company, one of the bigger executive protection firms in the world, really. They made me an offer, and so I went and joined their team for a little bit.
And when did the idea of being an entrepreneur kind of entered your mind?
It's always been on my mind. So my dad is an entrepreneur.
He's a lawyer, right?
He's an attorney, yeah, and he's owned his own law firm for a long, long time. He really came from pretty modest beginnings, and I don't want to sell any of my aunts or uncles short, so I'll say the first, because I'm pretty sure he was the first one to graduate from college.
Okay.
And then went to law school, started his own business, and I saw, at the time that he started his own business, our family is going through a lot of changes as far as parents leaving, new people coming in, and I saw just the incredible struggle he went through to not only hold the family together, but to hold a business that he just started together. Like seeing his example of where everything that could go wrong did, Murphy's Law, unfortunately it follows my family very closely. And he built a very successful law firm in Sacramento. I would say that really I've always had that desire to own my own business, and there's no doubt that it comes from the example set by him.
So flash forward to the moment after your call with your mom. What made you think that people really needed this?
Yeah, it was more about coming up with something for my mom. Like, I knew that current solutions like pepper spray, tasers, stuff like that weren't going to work for her. She would never want to use it. And then I also knew just through my profession that they don't really work. Like, and I've talked to a lot of women that have kind of these things in their purse or whatever. And I say, well, so like in the case of a taser, almost 90% of the time, maybe more, I asked, I said, when was the last time you charged it? And they say, charge it? I said, well, yeah, okay.
You have to do those things.
You do have to do that. Yeah. But even with mace or pepper spray, I say, well, how many times do you practice taking it out and pointing it at your target? And 100% of the time, it's a never. And so, and I always think of it like when I'm in the military, they used to make us do this constantly, where you do mag changes with your eyes closed or in the dark, because it's a tiny little slot. You have to stick this little mag in it. You have to do it under pressure. You have to do it in the dark. You have to do it under all these different circumstances. You just have to do it over and over again until it's muscle memory. And so it's the same idea for something like this, where you could potentially be in the most scary, extreme moment of your entire life And now you're trying to get this little thing out that you've never gotten out before in a situation like this, and hope that it all goes perfectly. For my professional experience, it's not something that I am really too fond of. So then the next step was, if that's not going to work, I have to find something that will. And I assumed there was something out there that would. So I start looking into technological solutions. There's maybe one or two sort of solutions. It clearly wasn't created by somebody that was a security professional. And I assumed if it's not going to work for her, it wouldn't work for a lot of other people. And so that's when I just kind of started figuring out what I could come up with.
Okay. So as you go through that process, what were some of the major hurdles you encountered while developing this idea?
Well, I knew nothing about technology. I knew nothing about prototyping and manufacturing.
Okay.
I knew nothing about starting a business like this. I went out and I think I started an LLC, which was the wrong kind of business to form for something like this. So many different things have to go into it for it to work properly. And I had no idea, no clue whatsoever. I think the first person I called was like a friend from high school that was a sound engineer. I just didn't know where it even began.
Yeah.
And so, there's this thing called Google that is pretty helpful when you need to figure some stuff out.
I use it every day.
Yeah, I maybe it was like Ask Jeeves at the time, I don't remember. But yeah, I jumped on the old Ask Jeeves machine and kind of got to work.
And what were, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what were some humbling moments through this process of trying to figure it all out?
Humbling moments.
Everything?
Yeah, I mean, people, like friends of ours, specifically Chris, who's a part of this, kind of become a co-founder at this point. If he watches this, he's gonna laugh. We've failed so many times, whether it be from the hardware device that we have to the mobile app and a mobile app developer. I didn't really think about it until now, but just like it was in the military, you're not gonna succeed unless you have that really great cast of people around you. And it took us a while, and I think probably my inexperience in the beginning is what I guess brought in some of these people that shouldn't have been involved. But yeah, there's constant setbacks.
Flash forward to the actual launch date. How'd it go?
It was at the end of 2019. We finally got the app done after years of trying, and we had the Bluetooth buttons, and the buttons worked with the app. The app was really, really beta. It looked bad. It didn't have many of the features that we wanted, but we needed to get it into people's hands and to test it, and to at least see what they liked, what they didn't like, and then just get some feedback. We launched with UT Dallas, a pilot program. It was like 100 students came, and we did like a little launch party up there, and it went really well. Everybody loved the idea. The features that we talked about that we wanted in the app, everybody really liked. It was a much more tame version of it, the one that we actually had them testing. And people didn't like the UX UI, they didn't like the usability of it, they didn't like the fact that there was just so few features. But we knew all that going into it. We just wanted the buttons to get tested, we wanted to just get some feedback. After launch happened is when we had the issue with the app developer that we were using, but we had to basically start the app completely over, which was fine. It felt like a huge setback at the time. I had a couple advisors here in Austin. They, if nothing else, were encouraging and like, you did something a lot of people haven't been able to do. You at least got it into people's hands, and now, if nothing else, you learned something, and then you just go figure it out again.
When you initially launched it, were you prepared for the gut check that you're about to receive from all the criticisms that you probably thought were going to happen, or were you like, this is going to be the best thing in the world and it's just going to work like that?
No, we knew it sucked.
Okay.
Yeah, no. We're asking people to trust us in what could potentially be the scariest moment of their lives, and if it's not going to work, if it's not going to do what we tell them it's going to do, there's zero chance we put it out there. So we knew it would work, but we knew people were going to hate the way it looked, the way the usability of it, the onboarding process. What we didn't expect, but what was a huge bonus for us, is the media attention we got. We had news media from Austin to Dallas reaching out to us. I did some live stuff with like one of the news outlets in Austin, but people covered it like crazy, and they really liked it. So that was a really big positive for us. It definitely gave us that encouragement that like we're on to something. What we have might not be it, but we're definitely on to something.
Okay, so you took all that, and where does the app stand as of now in 2022?
Yeah, so we got really fortunate actually. So at the end of 2019 when the pilot ran, and then early 2020 when it ended, is when pretty much the world shut down and COVID hit. And after the letdown that we had with the previous app developer, it really kind of reinvigorated us. It really is like, this is a sign, this is perfect. I mean, not necessarily because of COVID, and I apologize if that offends somebody, but for our specific purpose, kids not going to college was a good thing for us to be able to step back and figure out what our next move was going to be. We brought in some incredible advisors. We went and did every single page of the app was redone. We rethought a lot of the features, the way people interact with the app, the way people interact with the map that's in the app. We rethought everything. And now we're basically coming to the end of our development. We have an incredible partner. Shout out to Kickstart Crew. If anybody's looking for app development, reach out to them. They're Texas-based. They have people all over Texas. They are incredible. And so now we're basically coming down to the final stage of development. And so we're looking in the next 3 to 4 weeks of actually launching.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
thank
awesome.
you.
So I polled people and asked them, hey, what are some questions you have for this app idea? So one of our friends said, is the app dependent on others near you having it downloaded? If so, how will you encourage adoption for those that don't see the benefit of installing it or getting enough users started to make it helpful?
Yeah, so part of that question really kind of focuses on what the industry calls network effect, where certain apps, the more people are on it, benefit each individual user. So you think of it like rideshare apps, where you can have 1 million people wanting a ride, but if you only have 50 drivers, it's not really very useful. So the more drivers you have, the more benefit the riders get. And so the network effect, for us, that's one reason why our focus is really on college campuses, and initially we're gonna focus on very specific college campuses, and then grow it that way. And so the network, the community, is a more tight-knit, closer community, rather than just trying, it'd be great to have 20,000 users on the platform the day we launch, but if it's 20,000 users spread across the country, it's really not that helpful. Whereas we'd rather have 1,000 users at UT Austin all using it, because then in this smaller community, they get much more value out of it.
Sure.
And so, but yeah, the question is valid, and the community feature, which I believe is going to be the most beneficial to actually stopping crimes while it's happening. We need more people on it, and so the community is people that are using the app for their own personal safety, or maybe somebody like me who wouldn't necessarily use it for my safety, but wants to be available to somebody that needs it. But that's only one aspect of how we help people. Like I said before, the 3 pillars, friends and family are still available, and the emergency monitoring team are still available. So even if we don't have a ton of people around you that can help from the community, we do still have other ways to get you help. And for like friends and family, for example, they don't have to have the app downloaded. So if I had my parents as my guardians, that we call them, friends and family, we call them guardians. If I add them as my guardians, they don't have to have that app downloaded to still get alerted. And then so they'll get a text message with a link to just their whatever native map they have on their phone, and then it'll show my location for them.
All right. Another question I got is from my sister. Since the #MeToo movement, has it created a safer space for reporting sexual harassment on college campuses?
I don't know if it's Me Too that's driven it as much. They have certainly helped kind of open people's eyes to how bad the problem is. There's something called the Clery Act, and that's helped a lot as far as, so it's basically federal regulation that requires these public institutions to report more accurate data. They still really don't do a very good job of it, and if they don't, they get fined. And a lot of these schools are getting fined tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases for not having accurate reporting. And so a lot of campuses are trying to, whether it be anonymous reporting or having more counselors, stuff like that. They're trying to give students a better platform to report. But that's another thing that we're building into the app, is giving these students a way to either do it anonymously or attach their name to it if they feel comfortable. But they can report everything from an actual assault that's happened to maybe thinking that they have a friend that was either assaulted or possibly going through some kind of domestic issue that they need help with. And then it could be something like, this part of campus is too dark. Why don't we have any lights over here? And you can report it. So there's this whole reporting system that we're going to build into it that gives these students a way to communicate directly to the decision makers and help them actually understand how to better take care of their people.
Another, well, I don't know if you want to call this a question, but it's mainly a comment, is arm women with a pistol or some concealed carry.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back to the point, is, are they going to train with it? Are they going to be responsible with it? And then also, campuses don't allow guns.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, well, exactly. And I think, anybody that wants to legally carry a weapon and defend themselves, I'm all for it, right? Like, do what you're comfortable doing. But like you said, campuses don't allow weapons.
And then also, it bears the weight of responsibility.
Big time.
Like, if a situation arises, are you going to be held? I mean, you're going to be held accountable for your actions.
Yeah. So I think if somebody's trained and they go through the legal procedure and they get it, that's great. I would never tell somebody not to do what they can legally do. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't see that as being a real viable option for the problem we're trying to solve.
A lot of these situations, or these potential harmful, deadly situations for women, I guess anyone in general, how do they prepare for that? How do they deal with the panic and fear that might come to them in that moment?
Unless you've gone through it before, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about people in combat for the first time, it can be the toughest, hardest, most badass person that you've ever met. And when you go through a situation like that for the first time, somebody could react, entirely differently than the way you'd predict. All I can say is that having something like Rally with them would hopefully give them the confidence to know that they do have that safety and that help at their fingertips, and that if something is going wrong, or if they're scared or nervous or just uncomfortable for any reason, all the way up to, I'm in danger, I need help now, we can help them. And so just giving somebody that confidence to know that, you don't have to live a scared life. You don't have to be afraid. You see somebody following you, use Rally, call in your Rally community and get help. We want to be preventative. We want people to use Rally before they're in danger. We have their back and our community has their back. And hopefully that gives them the confidence to kind of go out and live the life they want to live.
What's some advice you can give to any entrepreneur starting out?
Surround yourself with advisors. Get advisors. There's places you can go. Capital Factory in Austin is great, and it could be scouring LinkedIn. There's different websites you can go to find advisors. And if you get good advisors, that's game changing for you. And it took me a long time to figure that out, and I found some amazing ones. Shout out Kate Diaz, and give them equity. Like, it doesn't matter. Give them equity, have them buy in. But I think that is probably the most important thing that it took me a while, but I figured it out.
Mike, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you losing to me in golf every weekend.
That's not true. That's actually not true.
Yeah, that's actually not true, and I'm sad to say that. But thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And cheers.
Man, it was great. Cheers.